people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this, the latest from Most Valuable Promotions, who ask, do you believe? Well, you should. Shocked the world once, now back in boxing and looking to do it again. Holly Holm is now ranked as a top 10 lightweight by both the WBA and the IBF. She will be in Orlando this Saturday to watch Stephanie Han defend her belt. That's what I figured the plan was for Holly and MVP.
What?
That upon her coming back and having her comeback fight, they were likely going to get her a Stephanie Han fight. It being that of the 4 champions that are there, of the 4 champions at lightweight, Stephanie would be the most beatable compared to the others, compared to Caroline Dubois, compared to Beatrice Ferreira, and compared to Terry Harper. It's not a knock on Stephanie Han, but there's no nice way to say that she's older than all those aforementioned champions and simultaneously less experienced than those aforementioned champions. Beatrice Ferreira and Caroline Dubois come from very decorated amateur backgrounds, and Terry, while Terry doesn't have a deep amateur background as a professional, she is leagues more experienced than Stephanie Han. So if you're Holly Holm and you're looking to win a belt in a jiffy, you want to become a world champion as soon as possible, you would sooner do that with Stephanie Han than the aforementioned 3. It's also important to note that Holly has achieved a rank with the IBF, and the IBF champion is Beatrice Ferreira. But I don't see a fight between Holly and Beatrice happening anytime in the near future, no. I think MVP would sooner do the fight between Beatrice and Caroline than Beatrice and Holly. For Holly, Stephanie Han is the target, rather the winner of Han versus Angel. Whoever wins this weekend, I expect Holly to fight them. And I expect Holly to fight them soon, like before this year is out, that quickly, that fast. And then after that, Terry Harper. Terry Harper may be more experienced as a professional than Stephanie Han, but she's not more experienced as a professional than Holly Holm.
No.
There are few fighters out there that are as experienced as Holly Holm. I believe that Holly will be having these fights in terms of difficulty. The least difficult fight, theoretically, would be Stephanie, then Terry, and then the others. There's nothing wrong with that. Before this past June, before her big comeback fight, Holly Holm had not boxed in 12 years. So that she is easing herself back into the mix, back into activity this way. There's nothing wrong with that because she'll be fighting for a title before you know it. She held up her end of the bargain and won her big comeback fight. That's what she needed. She's got a rank now. That's what she needed. Now she waits for the winner of Han versus Angel. Being honest with you, I think that Holly beats them both. Irrespective of what happens this weekend, I have Holly Holm beating whoever wins that fight. In her last fight, she showed that she can still shake and bake, still stick and move with the best of them. Holly showed she still got it. She is still an elusive, crafty southpaw who can stick and move, stay on the outside, keep distance for the entire duration of a fight. She still has that ability, which I think would be too much for Stephanie Han, too difficult for Paulina Angel. I think Holly beats both. The fight with Terry Harper could prove a bit more difficult. Terry is more experienced than the both of those fighters, but not more experienced than Holly. So it would be a question of what wins, Terry Harper's youth or Holly Holmes's experience. Makes for a very interesting situation indeed. So I expect Holly to fight the winner of Han versus Angel before this year is out, then Terry Harper next year. What does Terry do while she waits? Well, MVP signed her too, so I anticipate they may get Terry a stay busy fight until such a time as she can face Holly Holm in what I think will be a unification match. In men's junior middleweight news, Turki Sheikh kicked Tszyu when he was down. On the heels of his latest defeat, to Sebastian Fundora for the second time. A few things Turki El Sheikh said. Tszyu's promoter, George Rose, has questioned why Turki chose to kick a man while he's down, as he did in the aftermath of Sebastian Fundora stopping Tszyu. The 30-year-old Tszyu lost his rematch with Fundora for the WBC junior middleweight title in 7 rounds back in July. He and El Sheikh had previously been critical of one another after the chairman of the General Entertainment Authority became frustrated in his attempts to match Tszyu with Virgil Ortiz. But the fight with Fundora came almost a year later. I said to you from the beginning, Tszyu does not deserve to be on a Riyadh Season or Ring Magazine card. El Sheikh posted on social media with an image of Tszyu on the canvas on his way to defeat in the hours after Fundora versus Tszyu 2. He can be useful as a sparring partner for a champion in Riyadh Season. Those were Turki's words. El Sheikh later deleted that same post, but it was seen by Rose, who regardless stressed that he and his promotional organization, No Limit, have no animosity with anyone, and numerous others before it was. Tszyu resisted addressing the comments directly, but as part of a wider post on social media, he later said, "I see my name in the headlines in a negative light, and hear plenty of people putting me down. The reality is we all experience failure in life, but in the nature of my job, those failures are very public. It's part of the price you pay in the pursuit of a life you can be proud of." Sam Goodman, Tszyu's fellow Aussie and No Limit fighter, as recently as on Saturday fought on a promotion overseen by El Sheikh in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and impressed in defeat by the WBA featherweight champion Nick Ball. But Rose told Boxing Scene, "I'm not into kicking a man while they're down. Tszyu lost the world title fight at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Vegas on a Manny Pacquiao card. Any fighter who got the opportunity to be on a card like that, let alone to lose a world title fight on a card like that, that's pretty high-level stuff. I would not discredit a person for losing a fight like that. You might not, but Turki did. Maybe it's because you're a fighter. Maybe it's because Tszyu likened Turki to a petulant child." That was last year. That's how all of this started. Turki tried to bring Tszyu on board for a Virgil Ortiz fight. Seems that Tim turned it down and likened Turki El Sheikh to a petulant child, to a brat. He had a few choice words for Turki, so Turki had a few choice words for him. I don't like discrediting anybody in boxing. Boxing's a tough sport. It's a tough sport whether you're a fighter, whether you're a trainer, whether you're a manager or a promoter, whatever it is, it's a tough sport. It's hard work. There's a lot of passion involved in anybody who's involved in boxing. I'm not into kicking someone when they're down. I'm not going to take a shot at anybody in boxing, because when you're in boxing and you're having a go, you're a decent person. I would never speak like that about anyone. People bagging over other people on social media, it happens, it's nothing new. Unless you've got an emotional connection with someone, when you're at that level, you're not going to be impacted by people's comments. It's the people around you who matter the most. The people whose opinions you care about matter the most. The people whose opinions matter the most have always been supportive and respect the fact that Tszyu lost a world title fight at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Vegas on a Manny Pacquiao undercard. That is no discredit to him at all. Tszyu, the son of the celebrated junior welterweight champion Kostya Tszyu, perhaps the finest Australian fighter of all time, has responded to defeat by training for the Sydney Marathon at the end of August. His younger brother Nikita on Wednesdays fights Macedonia's Lulzim Ismaili at junior middleweight at the ICC Exhibition Center in the same city. The promoter was also asked of El Sheikh's comment about the connotations, sparring partners, and he responded, "Bloody hell. Sparring partners have made some of the greatest fighters in boxing history. Without good sparring partners, you cannot be a great fighter. Sometimes that's the difference between a good fighter and a great fighter. Who's pushing you to your limit to be your best?" It's actually funny. One of the things we struggle with most down here in Straya, the best sparring that you can get is guys you've either got to fight here on your way up, or you're at your limit of what you can test yourself with here. In Europe, in the United States, you've got them lining up by the hundreds. When Tim does his Las Vegas camps, there's a list of 100 guys to choose for sparring. Over here, you've got 3 or 4, and some of them are your mates. One of them's his brother, Nikita. It's a tough list to choose from. The limitations in the Australian boxing scene. Here's the irony, though. When things were a lot more insulated for Tim, and he was primarily training in Australia, he was looking better. It's when he traveled abroad that things started to go off track. I think he was blinded by the bright lights and the big dream of making it in America. It took him off the rails. He got distracted. He lost. He's got 3 losses now, 2 to Sebastian and 1 to Bakram Murtazaliev. Was it wrong of Turki El Sheikh to kick Tim while he's down? I suppose that depends, because we've seen it many times before. When Anthony Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz, a lot of people in the industry, not just the fans, kicked him while he was down. When Anthony lost to Andy Ruiz, when Daniel Dubois lost to Joe Joyce and Alexander Usyk, the first time, everybody called him a quitter. They kicked him while he was down. So Turki kicked Tim while he was down. It's in keeping with the decorum. Should we expect better from someone of Turki's stature? I think that depends on your outlook of life. Do you expect better of others than you expect from yourself? That if you regularly engage in these kinds of behaviors, and most boxing fans do, don't clutch at your pearls when somebody else does it, when it's a Turki El Sheikh. One of the more egregious instances I've seen last year, after Devin Haney loses to Ryan Garcia, and then it comes out that Ryan tested positive for Osterin, people still kept kicking Devin while he was down. People still made fun of him, even made excuses for Ryan. All I'm trying to illustrate with any of this is that boxing is a tough business, and it's a tough business all the time. So I don't expect Turki to pull his punches any more than I expect any of you to pull yours. It's a tough business, and it's a tough business all the time, and that's the way it's always been. I wasn't particularly offended by what Turki did, and I didn't enjoy seeing Tim get ragdolled like that. I wanted better for that kid than what he got. But you chose to take a shot at Turki last year, so Turki chose to take a shot at you. This one. Cause and effect. It's just a case of causality at the end of the day. That rules for thee, but not for me ideology is not often observed. The fans are critical of the fighters when they lose. So are the fighters themselves. They say mean-spirited things too. So why should Turki be any different? Why should you expect better of him? You don't expect that of yourself.
Live in a crazy world where Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul is a fight that's being discussed. Your old mate. I mean, look, like you almost say, opportunity knocks, the money presents itself. We know AJ's only got a year left of his career. I find it nuts how we were talking about the fight with your brother, and now we sit here in a position where AJ could be fighting Jake Paul. What do you make of it all, Tommy?
Well, let me just say this. Obviously, money's a very powerful thing in today's world, but if it goes past 2 minutes of the opening round, I will take that in AJ's been paid off, and I think it's going to take a lot of money for that to happen. And if it does, I think it will be very, very upsetting for everybody. But you can't rule it out, because that's just where boxing is today. But if I can beat Jake Paul, then excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. There's no, to be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead if one of them's not paid off. Listen, it's going to take a lot of money, but AJ could be paid off to not throw a punch for 8 rounds. I wouldn't know.
I see your old man do an interview with IFL, and he was like, AJ, look, please, whatever you do not let them pay you to take
I pray not. I pray not. But at the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? Huh?
You try and challenge him.
If he gets beat by Jake Paul, that automatically makes me 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it? Because my God, there's no proper way. I've got to laugh about it. How are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago, and now all of a sudden he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on, like you can't be serious. Like you can't beat me, and I'm not Anthony Joshua, am I? So it's just ludicrous. It really is. But that is the sport of boxing as current time stands.
Well, I'm not the biggest fan of Tommy Fury, I'll tell you that much, but I have to agree with everything that he said. That if this fight actually gets made, Anthony goes in there, and he does anything other than murderize this guy, you gotta assume it's rigged. You gotta assume they paid him to go easy on Jake, they paid him to carry him. And given that Anthony Joshua is not strapped for cash, he already makes boatloads of money, obscene money, all by himself. He doesn't have to sell his soul to Jake Paul. I think it would take an obscene amount of money for Anthony to even consider carrying Jake Paul, which begs the question, if that is so unlikely to happen, why would Jake Paul take on this risk? Jake Paul, who's fought so few professional boxers, and even fewer that were at or around the same age as him, the same size as him. The one time he did, he lost. And that was the Tommy Fury fight. Anthony Joshua. From Tommy Fury to Anthony Joshua, has Jake lost his mind? You see the stuff that he says in the media, and he comes off as deluded, but I think he's a lot smarter than he looks, a lot smarter than he presents himself, and that's why I'm not convinced this happens. I'm not sold. Now, he can create a stir and keep people talking about him by suggesting that he would fight Anthony, but in a real fight, and a fair fight, I do not think it happens. Everything about boxing math suggests that Anthony, even now, is too much, far too much for Jake Paul. I would sooner expect Jake to run it back with Tommy. Fight Tommy again before he fights Anthony once. I don't know that it's ever going to be safe for Jake to fight Anthony. Maybe after a few decades, but after a few decades, Jake will be old too. Eddie Hearn seems driven, seems determined to do this fight, because for Eddie, he's looking at it through a promoter's lens. Here you have a chance to fight a guy who's really popular, that stands next to no chance of winning, and in facing him, you make a boatload of money. It's one of those rare opportunities where the rewards greatly outweigh the risks. Usually it's the other way around. So for Eddie, he has every reason to see this through. He has every reason to want to make this fight, but why would Jake want to make this fight? I think that Jake sort of brought this on himself, just mentioning Anthony Joshua. He probably didn't figure that they would entertain him, that they'd give him the time of day, so that when they do, now you're painted into a corner. Now this is a conversation that's gaining traction. Jake outwardly may act like this is what he wants. But is it really? He probably figured they would just blow him off. That idiot Jake is talking about us. We're not going to give him the time of day. We're not going to waste time on him. I don't think he figured that Anthony might take him up on his offer. Now what? Well, ask yourself in your heart of hearts. Do you really think this is going to happen? Do you really think that Jake Paul would box Anthony Joshua in a real fight? A fair fight? No, I don't. Absolutely not, and because Anthony isn't some over-the-hill, quasi-retired fighter looking to make a few bucks, I doubt he sells his soul to the Jake Paul circus. For all the talk about this thing, I sincerely doubt it happens.